everyone. Okay, we're just waiting for her to join. Let me just see. Um, let's hope this side goes a bit better. While we're waiting that it started. Okay, you guys joined. Okay, let's see. Mommy Feminist. Let's approve. Waiting for how to join us.
Oh, hey. Hi.
Hey, there you are. Can you see me now? Fantastic. I can see you
finally,
too.
I can see you.
I can see clearly now.
Awesome. We are so sorry about that, everybody. I think Instagram sometimes does something like this. I saw somebody else going through this the other day, and I was so empathetic because I can imagine. So we don't have a lot of time. I would just like you to just introduce yourself to everybody and tell them what you do.
Okay, so I'm Karien Pitout. I'm a parenting coach in gentle discipline, and basically what I do, it looks like house is like stuck again. Basically, what I do is I actually help parents become the best version of themselves for their kids and for themselves. And I specifically specialize in gentle discipline, and that's basically what I do.
Yeah, your signal is so sketchy, but I could hear what you're saying. Karien is saying she's parenting coach and she focuses on gentle parenting, and basically what she does is been equipped a lot by her. I've followed her on Facebook for quite a long time, me a whole lot. I see I think her signal is quite unstable. Are you back now, Karien?
Just want to see, maybe it's...
You're back. Have the tools to do it, so Karien is really sure there's a circle around her face. Are you back now?
Yes, I don't know what went wrong.
It keeps doing the circling thing. So I was just adding on to what you were saying. So your article, Mama, what an amazing article. I felt called out. A lot of the things I was reading there, I was like, oops, she's calling me out. Oops, she's calling me out. I don't know if everybody read the article, but I think it's a very good article and food for thought. I think it kind of pushes us to introspect on how we treat children, not just as parents, but just as people and as adults, no matter what role you play in a child's life. I think the article pushes you to think harder. You don't have to necessarily be the parents to actually think like that. So Karien, what inspired you to write that article? Was it one event, a lot of events, or what happened?
Okay, so basically, I've basically, yeah, so since my eldest was born, I kept on questioning the double standard that kids face, and the impatience that we as adults have with our kids, and asking myself, but why am I looking at kids this way? Why is society looking at kids this way? And I think it was the fact that we as a family are currently in transition, and me having to check myself before I start parenting my own kids because they are going through a difficult stage and I'm going through a difficult stage. And then I stumbled upon a post in a parenting group, and it was just like this immense standard on a 2-year-old that was expected, and the parent was asking, how can I get my 2-year-old to do this? And then I realized, while I'm struggling with the double standard in my own home, it is time that we approach it from a perspective, but why is there a double standard, and what does a double standard really look like? And that is when I sat down and wrote it down, actually to sort out my own thoughts of my expectations of my kids. And I thought, like, well, maybe some other people can use this as a way to just check ourselves on how we engage with kids in general. So it wasn't a call out necessarily, it wasn't really meant as a call out article. It was more of a, you know what, guys, let's rethink about how we engage with kids in society. And that's also why I didn't like put solutions in the article itself. I wanted people to think. I wanted people to go like, oh, okay, maybe I should change 1 or 2 approaches, or ask ourselves, why am I doing what I'm doing?
Yeah. Before I continue, I want to know from everybody, Karien's signal is a bit like, can hear her properly, because there won't be a point with us talking and talking, but you guys can't hear us. And then you leave us here and then we just talk to each other. So signal has improved, because to me it's a bit shaky. She comes and goes, but I heard a lot of what she said. So please do indicate if signal is too bad and you can't hear. Then we can figure out what we will do. Maybe we'll come back again. But otherwise, I can hear you, and I thank you for that. I think you're right. I felt called out because you know me. I call myself out a lot. So that was a personal reaction to it. But the feel of the article is actually quite, I'm telling you to think, and I'm telling you to review the way you think. And I think for the most part, what I kept seeing when I was reading the article was power relations, power relations, power relations, power relations. Every single point is related to power relations. Every single point is about, I'm older, you're younger. I'm older, you are younger. And I think that's, am I correct in that analysis?
Yes, absolutely. Power dynamics, we are raised as, when we were children, the power dynamics was adult controlled child. And the moment we start implementing a double standard, it's because we want control. And are raised with expressions like, when you're older, you can do with your kids what you want to do. Don't challenge me as your parent, that mindset. And now that we have our own kids, we are challenged. And it actually makes that whole power dynamics, we want to prove that we're the adult. And that is why we kind of box kids in. And that is where things start going wrong. So yes, it's absolutely about power dynamics, but it's also about our own generational upbringing on how we were raised. I often, and I probably shared this with you before, I often tell parents, ask yourself, why are you putting down this specific boundary? Why is your child not allowed to do this? And I equate it to a little story that I grew up with, ironically enough, that the lady, like when she fries the borscht, she breaks out 10 centimeters, fry it in the pan, and then fry the 10 centimeter piece. And the husband's like, but why are you doing this? She's like, no, but that's how my mom taught me to fry borscht. He goes to the mom, it's like, but why are you cutting 10 centimeters of the borscht and frying it instead of all together? And she's like, but that's how my mom taught me to do it. And when she gets to the granny, she's like, oh my word, haven't you replaced the too small frying pan? So she broke that piece of borscht off because the pan wasn't big enough to have the whole roll in there. And it just carried on generation to generation. So when we look at how we parent our kids and how we look at these kind of unfair rules, we're doing it because our parents raised us that way. We were treated that way. and they were treated that way. And part of this challenge is breaking that cycle and bringing that down to basics.
Yeah, it makes me think of what I was saying when I was introducing on the other side. And I was saying most of us parent how we were parented. And what I'm hearing from you with the story that you just gave, that keeps going around on social media, where people are saying the world that you are raising your children for is no longer world. So the things that were done back then were done for a specific reason and a specific mindset, but times are changing and we need to change the way we parent as we keep going, right? And when you also were speaking, I was thinking about one of my biggest challenges ever since I became a mother was asking myself, but why are you making that rule, as you were saying? So I'll make an example. Someone very close to me who probably can hear me right now once made a rule that children have to sit a certain way on the couch. And I was like, but why? Why can I, as an adult, relax on the couch and sit nicely, but a child has to sit up straight? What's the point? What are we trying to achieve with this, you know? And I still didn't understand it. I feel like we focus a lot on preparing the children for when they are older than their humanity as they are young. Do you sometimes feel that way, that it's almost like children are not full humans yet? They are yet to become human and treated differently. So while they're still little, it's like preparing them for tomorrow. We forget that their life matters at their age, right?
It matters now. I always jokingly say to myself often, remember, the child is only X years old. They're not wearing an orange jumpsuit at the age of 16 yet. Don't parent them as if they're 16 yet. Meet them where they're at. And you parent from a position of fear. Okay, can you hear me now?
I was losing you for a bit there.
Okay. So we parent from a position of fear. We're so scared for the future of our child. If I don't get it right now, you know, my child is going to end up in prison, or they're not going to be able to get a job, or those kind of things. And that position of fear immediately puts us in a position of we want to control. And instead of going and say, you know what, they've got an immature mind, but they're still a whole human being. And if I look at them as a whole human being, then I can start training and teaching the mind and remembering that it takes time to develop that mind. And a brain is only fully matured at the age of 25. And yet we expect our 3-year-olds to behave better than an adult, than someone older than 25.
I love that. It's so remarkable. Like, I love that. They are a full human being with a growing mind. We always think of them as half people, mini me, mini human. And these things speak into what we think of them. They're just little, but they are full humans, and we should treat them that way. I think I absolutely love that. I'm going crazy about that.
Well, I'll make a special for you.
Please make it into a quote and put it up there big enough for everybody to hear and listen to. I think the other takeaway that was really that really moved me was, you know, that we parent out of fear. And as you were talking, I realized how you parent out of fear. And I also remembered growing up, they parented me out of fear. Don't sit like that, you're not gonna be married. Misogyny and fear about my future. As if there's a way they can control and set my future, right? Like, you better act this way now, and tomorrow this is what's gonna happen. It's remarkable. So I wanted to chat you wanted to add something. You can?
It took years to figure out, okay, I need to shift the fear away, to be able to connect and really get to my child's level and say, okay, let's find the teachable moment, because I don't want people to think that what we're saying is you're not supposed to teach your child. That's not what we're saying. We're saying teach your child, but in a learnable fashion. If we parent from a position of fear, we're instilling fear in our kids, and when we're scared, we can't think logically. So whatever we're trying to teach them flies over their head in any way. So step into a conversation. If I take one of the 13 things and say, okay, we tell our kids they're not allowed to shop with their hands. How are they then supposed to learn that it's okay to take something off the shelf, look at it, appreciate it, and put it back if it's not on the list to buy now? It's one of the things that we do as a family. We go to the shops and we go to the toy aisle, and where we actually go and say, all right, you've got 5 minutes. Let's look at all the toys. Let's see what we can put on the birthday list or the Christmas list. Let's appreciate. You can touch, you can feel, you can show your interest. You can show me stuff without me saying, no, we're not going to buy this now, because you're just looking. But if I work from the, oh no, they're not allowed to touch, I'm scared that they will break something. I'm scared that they will ask me to buy something. And therefore, no, you're not allowed to touch. But if I meet them like they're just as curious as what I am. If I see a new brand on the shelf, I take it off and look at it and read the instructions and, you know, all this stuff, and like, well, this is interesting, maybe next time. And I put it back. So they see that example, but they also have to practice it to be able to do it when they're older and when they're adults, instead of just shoving everything into the trolley and then get a shocking price at the till when they, my budget does not cover this anymore.
Yeah. And I'm thinking as you're talking, it's making me think we are also then creating a situation where we deny them the opportunity to actually learn. You know, we think too little of them to actually learn on their own. So we think you're a child. The minute I take away this rule, you are going to just, you know, mess up. Because the idea is children mess up. That's why they are little terrorists. That's why all these words that we use and things that we say in a jokey way come from a certain place. Our mindset about them. Talking about shopping, I had an incident too. And, you know, I just have to share this. But I don't know. Maybe you guys will help me. But he wanted to buy something. I didn't want to buy it. I didn't have the money. But I ended up buying alcohol, and when I got home, I was like, wow, how? Wow. And he saw that, right? He couldn't say anything about it. I doubt he could even conceive of, but you just bought yourself alcohol in that moment. But the is Karien back?
What we try to do is find a balance between spoiling ourselves and giving our children what they want. That is why we have that list of things when we go through the shop and we're like, oh, I really like this. Okay, let's put it on a list. Because when we then in the budget have money to spoil ourselves, we put away some money to spoil you too. And then we can probably get something from your list. And just finding that balance. And so for instance, let's take the example of the alcohol that you use. So if you're going to buy yourself a special drink, buy them a special drink as well. So it just balances it out. Even if it means that instead of buying 2 six-packs, you only buy 1 6-pack when you buy the bottle of Coke because you only have that much money. It's difficult being a parent. Parenting basically comes with the prerequisite that we sacrifice. And sometimes it means sacrificing on our own luxuries. And also, I want to say sacrifice on sleep as well, because that's a very, very big reality for all of us. We sacrifice on our sleep.
Yeah, I lost you a bit there. I don't know why I lose you, but everybody has you so nicely. The internets keep going in and out. I'm glad everybody still can hear us. We do have a few comments. I love this, breaking the cycle. I love this. Guys, you can also ask questions if you have any.
Yes, please.
We will answer them. I now want to take the conversation to, I know we've touched on it a bit, but in our double standards, what are, in your experience, the effects of that on the child? Because I feel like we need to understand the effects of these double standards on them, whether short-term or long-term, but that you can think of.
All right, so to give you an understanding, If a rule, and especially with double standards, it comes out a lot. If a rule does not make sense, if it's not logical, all right, then as a human being, we push back against it. And I'm so, as sad as I am that COVID happened because so many people are suffering, on the other hand, I'm actually happy it happened because when lockdown level 5 happened, everybody was fairly okay with the fact that we're locking down the country until they took the cigarettes away. Because the cigarettes didn't make sense. And all the adults were up in arms because that rule did not make sense. It didn't, it wasn't a logical rule. And then they started looking for the double standards that came out from how things were going on and how it all fit together. Our kids think the same way. So the moment we have a double standard, it is a rule that does not make sense, and our children will retaliate against it and start pushing back against it. And so it makes them rebellious. It makes it more sneaky. They will find then a reason to do things behind your back. And it also gives them a sense of unfairness, and there's a bitterness that comes with that unfairness. And then we set them up for their teenage years, and this is the, guys, you really want to project, like, what is your goal when you finally send your child out in the world? So we look at teenage and university years. Do I want my child to be a self-regulated adult, or an adult that cannot handle their own impulses? An adult that struggles understanding rules and adhering to them without someone peeking over their shoulder the whole time? What is my main end goal of things? And with double standards, the end goal is going to be a dysregulated adult, someone that struggles with impulse control, emotional control, and someone that constantly needs a policeman over their shoulder to make sure that they stick to what is expected of them within society. And it really comes, and it also puts them in a position where they can become adult bullies. Let's be very, very honest and very clear about this. Even in our work spaces, there's people that want to get into a position of authority and power so that they can make others feel the hurt and the harm they felt when they felt powerless. And that is what double standards creates, that sense of powerlessness, and it can flip both sides. It can open them up for abuse, or it can flip them into a position where they become abusive. And that's not a gamble that I'm willing to make.
Phew, that is heavy to think about that, because as you're speaking, it's not just now thinking about me as a parent. It's speaking about me as an adult and my childhood and the double standards I had to face and that I have to deal with today, that it carries on, and still having to deal with all of those issues, So when you were talking, I was also thinking about how there's a rule in our house that kids don't eat in the bedroom, right? This one day, Umpila comes in and I'm sitting here and I'm eating, and for the first time he said to me, "But why can you eat?" And I said, in the room, and I said, "Because I'm an adult." And he's like, "So?" And I was like, "Because I'm older." And he's like, "So?" I'm like, "I'm not gonna make a mess." And he's like, "What makes you think I'll make a mess?" And that was the first time we had that conversation, and I was like, it made me think that maybe everybody shouldn't eat in the bedroom then, if I don't want the bedroom to be a mess. Because then it teaches them that I'm more important just because I'm an adult. Again, we are going back to control and power, because some of these rules are about, it's because I'm older and it's because I know better than you.
Or it's more convenient for me. We step into the double standard also about convenience. It's more convenient for me not to have a kid eat in the bedroom, because then it's an extra room that I have to probably help clean up, where if it's at the table, all of that. But then what's good for the goose is good for the gander, and that's one of the big things that we all struggle with.
Mm, mm. I keep losing you, but it seems everybody can hear you and they have you nicely. I have to keep wondering, what did she just say? Yeah, the signal is quite bad on my side. I just have to put that out there. If I seem a little bit lost, guys, you must know that at some points
I'll
I'm not
repeat
hearing
myself.
Karien. Yeah.
I'll repeat
So,
myself. Okay.
so the difficult task is now you have to equip us. You've equipped us enough. But what are some of the things parents can do to do better and not and even notice that this is a double standard, because sometimes it's not clear. It's just let's do it, let's move along. But what can parents do to do better?
Okay. So obviously the first question you always ask yourself is why. Um, why am I doing this? All right. The second one is, how would I feel if I was in my kid's shoes? Empathy. We always teach our children, like, you have to have empathy for your friends, and we as parents need to have empathy for our kids. So before we dole out a rule or a boundary, or even, it doesn't matter however our function, how would I have felt if I was on the receiving end of this? Would I have felt loved? Would I have felt protected? And would I have felt this is fair? Yes, a lot of times our kids do experience rules and boundaries as significantly unfair because they want certain freedoms that they're probably not capable of handling. But that boundary then becomes a boundary of love. And kids do feel the love even though they rail against that boundary. But that question of how will I feel? So how do I execute that boundary? Am I just saying no because I said so? Or am I literally using it as a teaching moment? That when they push back and say, you know what, let's talk it through. Let's work it out between the two of us. Because kids have a perspective in the world that we don't have. Because they have a specific set of lived experiences. And if I just blatantly take control and diminish their humanity, then nobody's winning. Nobody is winning in that whole equation. So how would I feel if I was on the receiving end? Why am I doing this? So I can give my child a proper reason and explanation. And then the last one is this a learning opportunity, or is this just a moment that we need to breathe and stop? A lot of times we want to speak our kids and tell them exactly how everything is supposed to fit together, but sometimes it's not the right moment. Sometimes we need to have a little bit of time that passes before we actually step into the conversation, and that pause and that stop, and then carrying on. And then the last thing is asking ourselves, how regulated am I, and how regulated is my kid? Is my kid at the end of the day, like taking my kid to the shop at 5 p.m., okay, is a disaster waiting to happen. They're tired, they're overstimulated, it's been a long day, and then expecting my kid to be okay with me saying no is a very high standard. For crying out loud, how many of us before kids, when we had a very long day, how many chocolates and sweets or alcohol ended up in our trolley? We didn't really have a lot of impulse control, even as adults. Kids have less. So checking, is my kid hungry, are they tired, are they overstimulated? If the answer is yes to any of those, lower your expectations of your kid, because they're not going to be able to handle those things. Because guess what? When I'm hungry, when I'm tired, when I'm overstimulated, I'm not the nicest parent in the world. I'm irritable. I explode easily. I can say no to the chocolate in the aisle because I'm dysregulated. So check in with your regulation as well. And that is one of the ways that we break down this boundary and this double standard, is that checking in.
Yeah. I don't know if you will agree, but I also want to add that I've learned that I have to give him a sense not give him. It sounds wrong to say I'm giving him, but those are the terms we have to use, or I'm allowing him. But it is that because parents are the ones who dictate most of the time what should happen in the home, but allowing them freedom to choose for themselves. So when I changed my mind about, this whole, if I've cooked this, this is what you eat. I'd rather have, if I can afford it, or I have the minute I have it in my house, to say, okay, you have 3 choices. You can choose between the 3. You don't have to eat one, because just because I cooked it doesn't mean you want it. I cook according to my cravings. I cook according to what I feel like cooking, and it doesn't mean that everybody wants to cook it. Also with clothes, because it's their own body, giving them that sense of ownership. This is my body. So Umpilia has this thing where he wants to wear socks with slops, which if my dad was alive, he would be like, what the hell? And I thought, but if that's what he wants to wear, if I say no, what's gonna happen? Like, what's the big deal? He wants to wear slops with his socks. That's his feet. It's okay. Unless I'm worried about something bigger, like he's gonna break the socks or tear the socks or something that I can't afford to replace. That makes sense. But I don't know if you agree, but I've introduced that method of allowing, even lungo.
As long as the choice or the thing that they, yeah. Yes. All right. Okay, so you're slowing down. Okay.
Am I back?
Yes, you're back. I can hear you properly.
Yay.
Okay. So yes, giving children choices and allowing them to execute it because it is their body, as long as it's not harmful to them, why not? Yes, it's a fashion style of wearing the socks and slops. They have to live with it. You can always look to the sky while you're walking. Anyway, we've got a question here from Joyce Siri. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Do adults maybe assume that children will not understand the explanation behind the rule? And I'm going to say, yes, you are on the money. A lot of times we assume more. Like we assume that a child of 3 or 4 will have amazing regulation, but we don't give them the benefit of the doubt of using their brains. Kids can think. Sometimes we have to repeat a rule or a boundary or like go through the explanation a couple of times because, and then it feels like a nitpicking. A lot of parents experience it as back-chatting. And I'm going to do a selfless, unashamed plug. I've got a video on the YouTube channel about back-chatting, how to get it back to a normal conversation. But yes, explaining it to them. Obviously, I'm going to use age-appropriate language. I won't use big words. I will use adult words in a sense with my 2-year-old, but explain it on a level that he can understand. That explanation will sound different when my child is 5 because they understand a few things more. So it's about breaking it down in understandable snippets depending on your child's age. So I hope that answers your question. Yes, a lot of parents are scared of explaining the boundaries because they're scared the kid won't understand it, but you won't know if they understand it unless you explain it, unless you open them up for that. Motherly studio, my son looks at different things, asks questions, however he doesn't understand when he cannot have something in a supermarket. I will explain to him and sometimes I have to distract him. Distraction works great. But what we did, and it helped me with my impulse control issues, to go to the shop with a shopping list. And I tell the kids, this is what's on the shopping list, and we're only getting that. Then I get to the shop, and then I realize, oh, I didn't put bread on the shopping list. So Gabriel has got to go back to the shop a bit later or saying, Dad, So, and I've done that. But keeping myself accountable to that list and showing the kids, this is the list, nothing else is that's on the list goes into the basket, has helped a significant amount, especially when they're under the age of 7. Just helping them, like, this is on the list, we're not buying things that's not on the list, we can look at it, but we have to put it back. And going through that. And it also helped me to become more cognizant of this is on the list, and to make double check my list before I go to the shop. And it has helped with the overspending, the impulse buys, because now I have to set an example for my kid and of my kids. So I can't just buy whatever I feel like.
I love that. I love that so much. And it also gets quite challenging for the ones who are younger, because I realize explaining and talking about things become easier as they're older. So it's very easy to talk to Mpile about certain things and explain to him because he's turning 7. But Mr. Lungo is not going to hear anything I have to say. He wants what he wants. So maybe next time we can chat about the toddler stage, and we can have another discussion about the toddler stage and how to deal with, toddlers, and how deal with sounds so wrong. But how to explain, because you can't explain much to a toddler. But off the bat, what can you do when your child is much younger and can't understand?
So one of the tips that I can give you now quickly is we work, like our kids are almost like Pavlov dogs, trained on timers. So even when we're in the shop, I'll explain it to them, even under the age of 2, like, okay, we're going to the shop, we're going to this, but I also made sure, and I was fortunate, I was in a position where I could only take my kids when they were well regulated to the shop, so I didn't have to do the 5 o'clock in the afternoon break a dash. So I was fortunate that I could do that, but I would have this conversation, tell them the few things that is on the list, talk it through with them, and then giving them that 5 minutes of looking at toys, being okay that when that 5 minutes is done, the timer goes off, and I tell them to put the toys away, that they cry. In the beginning, they did cry. In the beginning, they were not impressed with the fact that we put the toys back. And telling them and being empathetic and saying, I understand you really would like that toy. We're putting it on a list. We can look at it again when we come to the shops again. We have to move on now. Due to the fact that they were under the age of 2 at that point, I did it like the last, before we have to go to the till, that last bit we did the toy. And it became a thing that even if we're in the aisle of death on the way to the till, they would pick that up, look at it, and then put it back. And I could tell them, listen, you put it back. It's not on the list. We're not buying it, because we practiced it in, and they were never judged or punished for expressing their upset about being told no. And that is allowing them to express the emotion, and then realizing that even if I cry, I didn't die, nothing horrible happened. My mom or my dad comforted me, and we moved on. And they stuck to their own, they stuck to their rules, they stuck to what they said was going to happen. And that builds trust from our children's side, so that by the time that we've reached a point where they can walk away from us to the toy aisle, I can still say, okay, guys, 5 minutes, have a timer. When the timer goes off, they put the toys back, and we carry on with the shopping. But giving them that 5 minutes of their own shopping time, where it's not the parent directing everything in the shop. It helps them with their choices and being okay with seeing stuff that they're not taking home.
Yeah. You touched on one of the one of the stuff on one of the list of things on the article, which was it's okay for them to express their emotions. If you're 2 and you can't have the toy that you want, it's okay to cry. Let them cry. It can be frustrating, but it's okay. One thing that I learned when Mpilo was 2 that really helped me and I thought people looked at me funny. We were once at a store, and I remember I kept reading and you read, right? But when the action comes, it's different, right? When the situation is in front of you, it's a different story. But in this situation, I call it a mum win, and I'm going to share. We were at a shopping center. I think it was a Pick and Pay, and we were shopping, and he was young. He was a toddler, and he cried for something, and I said, I cannot afford it, and I couldn't. He started crying, beating himself down. I sat down on the aisle, and I said to him, come, let me hug you. He first hit me with a fist. But after a few minutes, he allowed me to hug him. And I said to him, I'm not going to be able to have to buy you this. I'm just not going to be, but I'm here for your emotions. I'm here for your anger. I know it's directed towards me and it's okay, but I'm not buying you this. You know, sometimes they'll hit you, sometimes they'll do whatever. But I saw that it worked, and I started implementing it more. It doesn't work so much anymore, but it worked for the toddler stage.
It still works, but remember he's older, so he's doing it in a different way now.
So never withhold the cuddle, never withhold the hug that comes with the big emotions, or that's needed after the big emotions. But giving them space and saying, okay, you need to work through this. I can see you're angry, I can see you're upset, I can see that you're feeling overwhelmed. I'm here for you when you're ready and when you need it, but do what you need to do to work through it. I'm not scared of what you're feeling. Then, as initially when they're still under a certain age, they need the physical comfort from the parent during working through. But majority, like right about by age 4, 5, 6, they start getting independent on that, where they first want to work through their emotions and then they'll come get the hug. Some kids will still crawl on your lap and work through their emotions. But just the hug, the comfort should never be conditional on you have to stop crying before I give you love, or you have to smile before I give you love. That hug, that love, that comfort is there whether you're going through the storm or if you're at the end of the storm. It doesn't matter. It will always be there. And that consistency, then they can go, because remember, the older they get, the more independent they get. And the more they try to pull away from us as parents. I want my kids at the age of 22, 25, at 30, if I'm still alive by then, to come sit on my lap if they say and ask for a hug. I want my kid to still need that comfort from me, because they should never feel that they're too old to get that comfort. But the moment we make it conditional, that is when they start pulling away from the comfort. And they got to go through stages where you don't kiss me in front of my friends, you don't hug me in front of my friends, you know, you as a parent are a loser in my eyes. That's not development. But I can guarantee you, when the tough times come, they're the ones that's going to crawl in your bed and say, hey, Mom, I had a bad day, just cuddle me.
Yeah.
They're not necessarily going to tell you what the bad day was, but they'll come seek the comfort. And then you know you did the right thing.
Because he was saying to me the other day with the, come here, I know you're going through it. He's like, it doesn't work anymore. I was like, whoa. I was like, oh my God. But I'm also thinking, I feel like it's also condescending. Like, just because you just think I should smile, we need to let them get through it, because we want to also be allowed to go through our emotions and work through them. The same must happen for them, because we want them to be okay very quickly, like get over it quickly so we can move on, like smile, let's be happy. But in actual fact, we need to teach them to process. I love it. Before we lose our time, can you please tell everybody what services you offer, how they can find you, because I follow your stuff, I've been in your group, and how they can find you. You have so many resources on YouTube. Like, there's a lot. Everything is there.
Okay. So C3 Parenting, C, the number 3 Parenting. If you search it on YouTube, you'll find my YouTube channel. If you search for C3 Parenting SA on Facebook, I don't know. Facebook decided to add the SA. I did not. they did. Anyway, so C3 Parenting SA. You can find me on Facebook. I'm very, very bad with my Insta. I don't post a lot on Insta. I really just suck at it. And then I do courses and I do workshops. I've got a full-fledged course about how to be a conscious, connected, creative parent, which is basically the flagship of the coaching. And then there is workshops for toddlers, for 3 to 7 year olds, and this year we've launched the 7 to 10 year olds. I don't think I've got the hair on my teeth yet to dive into making a workshop for teenagers. I know I've been asked. I will get that ready as soon as we're settled. And then I've got a new course as well regarding empathetic parenting, how to teach your empathetic development, whether truly understand empathy starts at the age of 7. So it's a workshop that I teach parents how to play empathetic games with their 7 to 10 year olds at home. So it's an 8-week course where you do an hour with me once a week, and then you go play with your kid what you've learned in that hour. So we're launching that as well this year. So that's basically what I do. And then we've got the parenting club. There's so much. We've got the C3 Parenting Club. That's only 75 Rand a month. You get a video, you get a podcast, and you get a live workshop. This year's workshop is literally Q&A or whatever the topic of the month is. And we chat things through, and also then you have direct access to me daily, and you will then receive my new SMS or WhatsApp number as well in about 2 months' time. So that's basically what we have. And for those who've watched tonight, if you guys send me an email at info@c3parenting.com. I will give you 1 month of free access to the Parenting Club so you can see what it is, so you can experience it. Especially just for house people, well, for the C3 Parenting Club as well, a free month so you can see what it is, how you have access to some of the resources, and see if you would like to continue on the C3 Parenting journey.
Thank you so much, my darling. I really, really, really appreciate this. I appreciate you coming here and having this chat with me. I know we were both quite nervous.
I think so.
But I think it's been quite amazing. I can't wait to do more. The other thing is, if you go to Karien's YouTube, you'll see she interviewed me, guys.
I did.
on being a
feminism
feminist mom and parenting boys. So there's all that. But thank you so much. I think for me, the biggest takeaway from this conversation was that quote you said. They are human with growing minds. They are whole humans. They are not half. They are not a little bit. They are not becoming. They are human, but they are having developing brains. I think that's the biggest takeaway from me, and I want a billboard. Thank you so much, Karien. We really, really appreciate it. And thank you, everybody, for sitting with us and watching and having this conversation.
Yeah.
Sorry, I disturbed you.
No, I said thank you for the patience.
Also, I'm going to ask you, since it's on your side, could you please save the live and then I can share it as well, because it's not on my side. So once we're done, you can just save it into your, I know you're not, I know you don't do a lot of Instagram, but you can save it onto your IGTV so that we can be able to share it with everybody. Thank you so much. Good night, everybody.
Okay,
good night, Karien.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye. And now I need to